People often ask me, they say, in all the years you've been broadcasting, what is your favourite record, which is almost impossible. I've never done Desert Island Discs. They did think of it, and I think something went wrong or something. But if I had to take 8 records on a desert island, that would not be one. That is the one record. I think it was end of 74, possibly the beginning of 75. It was Johnny Moran's Climber, Wool Black Betty by the Ram Jam Band. I couldn't stand it, and I used to play it at the wrong speed and send it up and all sorts of things. That was an awful record. But one thing I've forgotten up to now is the opening of Radio Hallam, which was disastrous. I didn't sleep all night, and I had about 5 different alarm calls, and Johnny did, because Johnny was staying with me in Ford out in Derbyshire, and I heard Johnny's alarm go, because none of us had gone to sleep anyway, waiting for the big morning. And I heard Johnny's go, and mine went, and the telephone went. We had every way of waking us up. And Johnny went off in his little red car, and I listened to the opening. And I think the first record Johnny played had a repeating groove in it, which wasn't a help. I went there by taxi. I had a kind of book-up taxi in case the first one didn't arrive, to make quite sure I was there on time, and I was. And 9 o'clock came. And television, Yorkshire Television, were in, and I don't know if you've probably seen broadcasting studios, but they have 2 layers of very thick glass. Yorkshire Television was there, because I was the kind of, what's Rog going to do type thing. And thick layers of glass, all the heating of the lights and things. And Austin Mitchell, the name suddenly came to me. Austin Mitchell, who was interviewing me, and it's difficult to be interviewed on the wireless, on the radio, and on television at the same time, for reasons which are a bit obvious, because, the cameras can see things where the listeners can't. Anyway, everything went reasonably well, until we only had 2 turntables, and one broke down. And just about then, the heat from the television lights cracked the glass, and it kind of, and the thick glass broke, and I thought, I can't go on like this much longer. And then the turntable broke down, and in my upbringing, sheltered upbringing, I've never seen a soldering iron. I don't know why. I've never seen a soldering iron. And they came in to try and mend one of the turntables, and I put my arm on it. Now, that is not a good thing to do, to put your arm on a hot soldering iron, and I screamed like I don't know. It's a good job the microphone wasn't on. Anyway, we got, it was then 9 till 12. We got to 12 o'clock, and I went into the loo, and I cried and cried and cried. And I thought, what time is the next train back to London? Because I can't stand any more of this. And Jean Doyle, God bless her, she passed away a few years ago. She was, because we had a kind of unisex loo. We still have, or they still have, I should say. And it, both him and hers can use the same loo. And she heard me sobbing. I was sobbing like a child. And she said, "Come on, Rog, it can't be as bad as that." And I came out of the loo. And she said, "You can't," because they were having a party. And she said, "You can't go to the party. Look at your eyes, they're red." And she put some powder on. She said, "It'll be all right tomorrow." I said, "It can't be all right tomorrow. I'm not going on with this. I want to go back to the BBC." Anyway, tomorrow came, and everything was all right, and we went on and on. Soldiered on, we did, until trouble came, and it came to pass. I played this. I saw no harm in it, as they say, no harm in it. I played that, first of all, when I was with the BBC, and the BBC hadn't heard it, and I managed to get a copy from somewhere, and I played it, and the controllers and people came down on me like a ton of bricks. It should have been censored, so it was no longer played by the BBC, and that was in the 60s, I think, and then it came to light again in the 70s, 74, 75, somewhere around about there, and I thought, I'll have this one again, and it didn't go down very well amongst the peasantry in Rotherham and Chesterfield and Doncaster and Sheffield and places like that. They thought it was rude. It's all in the mind. Anyway, got away with that one. I'll tell you something else. What happened? When we came to Radio Hallam, we all thought we could make a few extra pennies. Wrong, but we thought we could. And Johnny said, I will be head of motor racing. See, he thought he might get an extra 1,000 a year or something, being head of motor racing. I said, that's a good idea. I said, I shall be head of royal broadcasts, thinking, no queen or member of the royal family, God bless Sheffield, and would come to Sheffield. I mean, there are better places, and there's no good writing in, because I won't be back again for another 10 years. So, there are better places for the Queen to come to, really, even on a sunny day. Anyway, I said I'll be head of royal broadcasts, and I shall get another 1,000 a year, which I never got. And I thought, they won't be coming up here, will they? Wrong. So, you've heard of Ray Stewart, have you not? And you've probably heard of a group called Queen. Now, I hadn't. You see, being ignorant, I've heard of the Halley Orchestra, the BBC Symphony and all that sort of stuff. I was kind of brought up on them, weaned on those sort of things. Queen, no. And I was sitting quite happily after having finished my broadcast at 12, as it was then, and we were sitting in the Dove and Rainbow having a little libation, which means getting, Mozart and Ray came in. And as is talk of the devil, Mr. Stewart has just come into the studio just to see if I'm still alive. And anyway, we were sitting in the Dove and Rainbow in our little corner. And Ray, being a kind of northerner, he sometimes drops the, you see. And he came in, and all the excitement he came in. And don't forget, I was head of Royal Broadcast. Ray came in and said, Queen's coming at 2. And I thought, if you pardon the expression, I thought, Jesus Christ. And I'd only a dirty old sweater and stuff, and I thought he meant the. But he meant a group of which I had never heard, of which I knew not of. And so I rushed out and got myself a new sweater and some trousers. And it came to pass. It turned out that it was the Queen. Queen, the group, what was coming. I just, I copy his way of speaking. What and all these things. Bad grammar and stuff. And anyway, it was Queen, the group, what was coming at 2, and not not that one. So, I think they did. I was furious. I was very upset. Because, you see, being head of Royal Broadcasts, I thought Keith Hughes would tell me if the Queen was coming. But Keith is a kind of muddle-headed. He's one step away from me. Because Keith always says, where were you yesterday? And I said, why, where should I have been? He said, didn't I tell you? And he never does. So I thought it's quite likely that the Queen was coming, and he hadn't told me. Anyway, it wasn't that one. It was the others, coming to publicise this.
She keeps them always shined in a pretty cabinet. Let them eat cake, she says, just like Marie Antoinette.
And so Queen came and went, and later on the real Queen came and went, and all sorts of members of the royal family. More about that in a moment. Hello, it's Golden Rog here, doing his first broadcast for Radio Hallam for 3 years. The next one, if I live that long, will be on their 20th anniversary. But I think I shall be 6 feet under by then. Altogether, right. We have, after 7 years, people say, how's Radio Hallam? And I say, we're all right. I must remember that it's not we, it's they. And I keep saying we, because I'm so associated with Radio Hallam. They have, and they have had, since their inception in 1974, one Beverly Chubb, who is in charge of the gramophone records and all that. It's a very responsible job. And we never quite saw eye to eye, but sometimes we did. She didn't like, I'm a kind of old, she looked upon me as a kind of has-been, like Christopher Stone, and people, if you remember, that far back. And she didn't like the kind of music I liked, and I didn't like the kind of music she liked, but we muddled through. But we had these things called climbers, you see. And every time I chose something, like Gracie Fields or something, And she didn't like those. So she picked out one for me. And sometimes, because we used to listen to new releases and things, sometimes I was adamant, well, nearly, because I was terrified of her. I still am. And she used to have this office door, which is the top part was glass, and the other part was metal. And I used to crawl past the door on my hands and knees in case she saw me. So, anyway, sometimes I was adamant, and I used to go in and I'd say, you know, I used to have a large Scotch or something to give me courage to go and speak to Bev. She's an Australian. And I used to say, Bev, I want that as my climber. And she says, I've heard it. It's a load of rubbish. Never get anywhere. And once I said, I want that record as my climber. And if you don't give it to me, I shall play it anyway. And I did. I played it. I think she actually let me have it as a climber. She said, it won't even get into the charts. The record in question